What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Brian Catsaño. Brian Catsaño states that Jermell Charlo will duck him for an opportunity in a rematch. He also stated, obviously, that he thought he won. He thought that he was robbed Saturday night against Jermell Charlo, since him being the popular fighter. And the fact of the matter is that he would like a rematch, and he doesn't believe Jermell Charlo will be up for it. Let me counterpunch. First off, Brian Catsaño is not by himself. Okay, a lot of people that saw that fight, I've seen a lot of live streams with a lot of people that thought he was robbed, that thought he won, that thought he should have, you know, ran away with the victory. That my assessment is wrong, and I shouldn't be talking the way I was talking about him happy or lucky just having a draw, which I explained why it was better, not even really better, but a draw was good, because a draw is almost neutral. It's not for or against, but actually, if you understand the politics of boxing, draw is for. Okay, because they could have done Brian Catsaño, people, just like they did Erislandy Lara against Paul Williams. Okay, Mr. Punisher himself. Shouts out to him. And Paul Williams lost that fight. He knew he lost that fight. That the scorecards were so bad that those judges were suspended. But it just shows you that they were willing to suspend those judges without overturning the ruling. And so instead of overturning the ruling, they still ruled it a loss for Erislandy Lara, even though he was an undefeated fighter. So in other situations, it didn't always sway that way, and Lara beat Paul Williams a lot more and better than Catsaño beat Jermell Charlo. Okay, so if you're looking at things to that degree in comparison to other bullshit judge scorecards, right, I would say it's pretty good based on the sport that I love, that I hate so much, people. Okay, so we can't get it twisted like, hey, was it a bad call? Was it the best call? No, it wasn't the best call. Did Brian Catsaño do enough to win? I think he did. I think he did enough to win. He outpointed him. He carried the fight. He showed true grit. He showed that he was hurt, that he can recover and still take a licking and keep on ticking. Okay? He showed all of that. He showed everything that he can do. He showed that Jermell Charlo has to work on a lot of things. He exposed Charlo in some ways. Okay? Charlo can't stay complacent with his power. Okay? And his punch output, because that's exactly what he was doing. It was like he was letting off the gas. Why? Maybe that's a stamina problem. Who knew? But whatever the case is, Brian was showing that, hey, I'm here to stay, underestimated or whatever. I'm coming to open up a can of whip ass. And that's exactly what happened. Okay? Now, will Jermell Charlo take that fight? I think it's a good bluff. You know, I think it's a good charge up. And what I mean by that, Brian Catsaño is charging up Jermell Charlo, because he's backing him into a corner. At this point, Jermell Charlo has to take that fight with Brian Catsaño. You can talk about mandatories and this, that, and the other, but he'll never be able to live that down at this point. Why? Because at this point, this is probably second to that first defeat that he took, because people are going to criticize him about that fight. He was good with the ruling. He got his belts. He may want to run off with it. But I think for bragging rights, I think he almost has to take that fight to redeem himself. And if he felt, hey, he should have knocked out Brian Catsaño, if he feels that confident that he can knock out and defeat him in that manner, he needs to take that rematch. Now, the other question is, will that fight, or will this type of fight be allowed to happen again? Okay, because it depends on how Al Haymon, because he has both fighters under his wing, it depends on how he wants to promote those fighters. Al Haymon, being Al Haymon, he might want to take Brian Catsaño, knowing he's an action fighter, and bring him on into Vegas. Away from the Texas, bring him closer to the pinnacle, which is Vegas, and put him in bigger fights of that nature. You know, give him a higher fight purse. Let him take care of his family. That's how Al Haymon gets you where he wants you to be. He gives Brian Catsaño more exposure, and Saturday night gave him enough exposure to be considered for more exposure. Okay? So Brian Catsaño will probably be a candidate, or a new candidate, in action-packed fights, win, lose, or draw. And he's still undefeated. Okay? So there was really no harm, no foul. But Jermell Charlo, he has to defend his honor being a Lion to take that rematch at this point, I feel. Because he knows he has a lot of people to answer to. The fans, even his coach, because he didn't do what his coach wanted him to do. No, not at all. He couldn't stay off those ropes at times. Now, could he? No, absolutely not. You know, and he did at times. It looked like he made that adjustment, but he couldn't keep that adjustment intact. Okay? Brian Catsaño kept forcing him with pressure, con fuerza, right? Back to the ropes. And he was doing a number on him when he got him on the ropes. Okay, so Jermell Charlo, does Brian Catsaño have his number? Maybe. More than likely, because we've seen the result of Jermell not being able to execute a knockout, what type of fight we will have. Okay? And I'm going to leave you guys with this. If we take out the weird or strange or bad scorecard, and we only look at the two, we had 114 to 114 a draw, and we had 114 to 113, or 115 to 113, right? So they were very close. So that obviously tells you that Jermell Charlo needed those championship rounds in order to earn a draw with the other scorecards. So that should tell you all you need to know about having someone's number. If Jermell Charlo can't take out Brian Catsaño, Catsaño will give Jermell Charlo problems 10 times out of 10. Okay? But anyway, that's my counterpunch on this issue. You guys tell me if you think Jermell Charlo will duck Brian Catsaño in a rematch. Please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.